Today's topic is going to be about this new financial stimulus bill that's out regard to the COVID virus. And we have a special guest today. We have Duane Whitmer. He is a congressional candidate for the 27th District. And Duane is on the Libertarian line in this up-and-coming race. He is not neither a Republican nor is he a Democrat. So thanks for coming on, Duane.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So first time I've ever interviewed a congressional candidate, so I'm kind of nervous here. But
Okay.
so you do accounting for a living, correct?
I own an accounting practice, yes.
Okay, so have you reviewed this new stimulus bill? What's your opinion of it? I mean, thanks for coming on and talking about this here. But really, let's educate business people. Let's educate the regular everyday citizens. What do you see that's the positive, and what do you see as the negative?
First thing, because someone's going to ask, is it libertarian to be an accountant? Because, we make revenue off doing taxes. And actually, fun fact, becoming an accountant is what actually pushed my libertarian views. Because I see firsthand how many people and what they're paying in taxes. And to blow up brown kids in the Middle East actually furthered my kind of, wow, government sucks and is inefficient views. It's because I saw firsthand the amount of money the government's collecting. And I've seen the government focus on auditing. Matter of fact, finally, the IRS guy finally came out and admitted that, hey, we audit lower income and middle-class households more because they can't afford representation. He finally admitted that's the truth. So it actually furthered my libertarian ideals once I started getting into this and started opening my own business and working with small business owners. So, for the record, as far as the
now that we hit on libertarian, a lot of people don't know the belief in that party, and I've come across people registered libertarian. They thought they were liberal. So educate people a little bit what libertarian really is in a quick little.
And that's one thing why it's so important to run professional, well-spoken, decent candidates is because in this district, when I campaign, I get 4 questions asked. What the hell's a libertarian? Do you support Donald Trump? How do you feel about guns? And how do you feel about either abortion, healthcare, the wall, Trump? There's a 4th question that's always one of the same couple of questions. And so my interpretation of Libertarian Party, and what I tell people is, at the end of the day, we want equality in the form of less government restriction of your life. So we don't really view Albany and DC running your life as conducive to living your best life. There are now some people will take it to the extreme and say, well, do you not want roads and schools? Yes, we want that. And the federal government and state government has a limited obligation. But you're seeing a lot of extra departments being created by the federal and state governments to essentially become a jobs program. They raise your taxes, they tax you, they take your money, and then they create these programs, the NSA, for example, that's spying on citizens. They're doing a lot of things like that. So we want to kind of focus on cutting some of the overbearing and over-restricting regulations and licensing and taxing to allow people to have more of their money to be more in control of their own life. We're big on decentralization, local governments having more power, because why should some bureaucrat in DC tell you how to live your life? He's not living your life. You are.
That's what I've seen here in New York State. When I was a volunteer firefighter, the state was telling us that we couldn't respond in an ambulance unless we had a licensed EMT on board from the state.
Right.
Where before any volunteer can get somebody to the hospital, now you can't even show up and help to save a life. So more or less they created a law saying that we can't save lives anymore.
So one example I use, and people get mad when I use this law, but seatbelt laws. I wear a seatbelt. You should wear a seatbelt. Everybody should wear a seatbelt. But if you don't wear the seatbelt and you go through your windshield at 60 miles an hour, who's really suffering from that? You are, because you went through your windshield. So, and there's a lot of things on the books. There's a lot of regulations on the books. But what happens is big government lobbies, or big business lobbies Congress to pass more restrictive laws and more regulations to make it so small businesses can't compete in the market. One example that I use, I own an accounting practice. A couple of years ago, H&R Block, the biggest tax preparation firm in the country, actually lobbied Congress to make it the earned income credit form more complicated and require more paperwork and more research gathering. Why did they do that? Because it makes it harder for you to do your own taxes, and it makes harder for the smaller firms to maintain the record keeping. I actually had to hire staff to help me maintain the record keeping. So I have to pass that cost on to my consumers. So H&R Block, knowing that, hey, if we make it harder for you to do your own taxes, you're going to use our system. We're the largest with the most advertising. So it's essentially they used Congress and laws. They might have spent $5 million lobbying Congress, but they're a $8 billion company. So they can lobby Congress to make these more regulations and more laws that make it harder for the little guy to compete with them. So,
more or less, yeah. This is what small businesses are having difficulty with.
Yep,
yes.
Yep. So big pharma is another great example. They lobby Congress. 490 of the 534 people in Congress and the House, or Senate and the House, are getting money from big pharma. It's not a red or blue issue. It's a them versus you issue. And big pharma is giving a lot of money to people in Congress to make it so medical marijuana isn't passed, and if it is, it's restricted, because they'd rather pump you full of medicine and be, reaction-based medicine as opposed to preventative. So stuff like that, that's why you're seeing medical marijuana not being pushed, because big pharma is buying Congress to tell them to pass laws.
So now with the lobbying and obviously campaign donations, I watched this movie. It was called Food Incorporated, and they talked about these CEOs of these companies, because they donated so much to these politicians. The politicians then put them on the FDA to regulate the quality of food. So it's all, you follow the money, and that's where it goes. That's why, is that true? Is that what happens?
You're 100% correct. Yes, and that's where the libertarian philosophy of smaller government comes in. Because they're all in bed together. The big corporations, the big politicians, the two big parties, they're all in bed together. They'll say that they care about you because you whatever, but they really don't. And so that's what the Libertarian Party comes in, is we want to take power from the federal government. So it doesn't matter who's in charge. His abilities are so restricted, they can't do stuff like this.
So the overall...
What?
So the overall libertarian belief is really put the power back into the people, the local,
We want the individual to take their power back, take their government back. Yes. I don't think you're seeing it, and this is going to anger a lot of liberals, and a lot of Democrats, but the progressive liberal agenda, and one of my opponents kind of has this mentality of, you're so stupid, and this is what it boils down to, is that the progressive agenda is, you're so stupid, you shouldn't own a gun because you're too stupid to know how to maintain proper safety controls. You're just going to shoot yourself in the face, dummy. So you don't need a gun. Or you're so dumb, they're just going to steal it from you because you don't know how to maintain it. Or, hey, you're so stupid, you can't get a good job, so we better pay off your student loans because you're too dumb to go to a program that's going to help you get a job, Or
how about,
you're... What?
So how about you're so stupid that we have to stay in your house and you can't practice your own social distancing? Is that realistic, right? Is that what's going on?
Yes, yeah. You're so stupid you can't negotiate your rate of pay with your employer, or you can't find a better job or learn a skill set. You're so incompetent. We have to help you get more money because you're unable to do it for yourself. And that's what the leftist progressive agenda is becoming. And the libertarian philosophy is the exact opposite. I believe in you. I think that you are competent and you are capable of doing what you need to do to survive. I just need to make sure you're getting the opportunity and the resources to do so.
Wow. So that's and people can go on. I think libertarians got a lot of information on their website. You can actually go online, and I think they have a questionnaire, and you can see how you rank.
Yeah.
And
one good website I've been sending people to is isidewith.com. You can take anywhere from 30 to 300 questions. It's a massive quiz. And it asks, what's your stance on abortion? and you can say, ban it. Anyone can have it. Only in case of rape and incest, or if the woman's in danger. I'm pro-choice because the government shouldn't be involved in it. And you can actually click other stances, and they go in pretty detailed stances. Is that there's like 8 or 10 answers for some of these, and it's not always how do you feel about this? Yes, there's yes or no, but there's also other stances. And if you fill out that quiz, it actually tells you what party you most likely resemble. And it's not just Republican, Democrat. It's Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green, Independence Party, Constitution Party, Freedom Party is on there. There's like the Socialist Workers of America's on there. The Transhuman Party's on there. There's like 20 parties that they'll put you in a program and kind of say, this is the party that most resembles your beliefs and what percent you are. And so it's a pretty good website.
So to let people realize, what they are. So let's get back to the stimulus bill here. What do you think? What do you think?
We should tar and feather our representatives. Because it's a $2 trillion stimulus that is an average of, if you do the math, it's like $6,000 per American. And only some Americans are going to get $1,200. So where's the other $4,800 per American? Sorry, did I just disappear for a second there?
Yeah, you're fine. You're good.
Sorry. I'm on Do Not Disturb, but somehow I don't know.
Yeah. I can edit out of it, no problem. So.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So where's the other $4,800 per person going? And the answer is it's going to pork. The Republicans and Democrats in Congress, in the House and Senate, essentially decided that, well, you are struggling to pay your mortgage tomorrow. Well, you are struggling to pay your bills tomorrow. They're not going to let a crisis go to waste, and they are going to pad their donors' coffers. They bailed out a lot of industries that donate to their cause. So they found a way to essentially allocate a lot of taxpayer dollars to their donors. It's absolutely insane. And then they threw you table scraps. You're going to get a $1,200 table scrap check. You're going to have to fight for table scraps. You're going to have to go through the red tape, go through the bureaucracy, go through all the other bullcrap to maybe navigate and get a couple bucks if you own a small business. And at the end of the day, that happens while they're giving industries, billions of dollars. They're allocating money to all these other projects and things, and it's you look at the breakdown, it's insane.
Did it make you physically sick after you started reading it? It really disturbed you to know why? Because it did me when I started reading it. Some of the
government in general makes me physically sick. So I was already a little nauseous, but when I started to read the bill, it actually made me more angry at first, and then a little bit hopeful, because I'm trying to tell people that this is the truth they don't want to hear, and people need to hear it. When you hit one of the worst times of your life, one of the most frightening, concerning, unknown, odd, weird, whatever term you want to use, when you hit this weirdest time of your life, Congress took the opportunity to pad their donors' pockets and threw you table scraps. So it left me hopeful, thinking maybe in November, the American people will remember this and unite and start voting some of these people out of office.
Now, regards to parties, was there specifically, I don't know how much you reviewed the board. Can you read the part of the bill that the Dems wrote and read the part of the bill that the Republicans wrote? Is that a possibility?
I didn't see that, but I know it passed pretty flying colors. I know, actually, here's an example. So Thomas Massie, a Republican out of Kentucky, spoke out against the bill and was attacked by John Kerry and Donald Trump. And Thomas Massie was actually correct. He said, I'm calling the people back to have a physical vote so we can record who's voting yes or no. And it's on record. And so everyone was mad and said, oh, you're putting us at risk for catching it. And it just shows how out of touch are these people are, because my friends in the nursing industry are on the front lines. My friends and clients who are truck drivers are on the front lines risking catching this. My friends, people that work at Walmart, Dollar General, that are literally working for minimum wage or a little bit more to make sure the shelves are stocked so you can get what you need, are on the front lines of this issue, with no testing because the FDA regulations are so insurmountable that we can't rush a test to the market. So none of my friends and family and clients can get tested. Well, they're literally probably being exposed to this every single day, but Congress can't get together to do their job. And that was kind of outrageous to me. And it just showed how out of touch these politicians are, that they think that they're better than you. Now, granted, well, again, you're worried about your paycheck. You're worried if you can pay your bills. Their $184,000 paycheck is still getting direct deposited. Their pension is still being counted. They're getting theirs. Well, you worry about what's going to happen to you. So I think people really need to open their eyes and really wake up and really see what's going on and get involved, and get fired up, get mad, get angry, and make a change. Because if you don't, this is what you have. We're trapped in an abusive relationship with our elected officials on a federal level, and November is the time to make massive changes.
So when you say participate, and I got involved years ago in actually going to meetings, being an active committee member. I tell people, voting is not participating.
Right.
Participating is, what's your opinion of participating?
Get involved. If you have some extra time, if you have some extra money lying around, donate. If you have some extra time, show up at some events and learn what's going on and get involved and, tell your friends. Everyone can participate at a different level. Some people, the reason why I ran was I had some time, money, energy, and capital saved where I can spend 20, 30 hours a week campaigning. But some people can't do that. They work 2 jobs. They live check to check. They don't have any extra money. Get involved. Come to some meetings. Learn the philosophy. Learn about the other parties. Stop voting for the same people that have gave us $23 trillion in debt and, 20 years of never-ending war, more than 20 years of never-ending war. Don't be afraid to try something new because really you have nothing to lose. What's the worst case scenario if a third party starts to take over federal races? The 2 parties have to try harder. It's basic business 101. If you go to the back to participation, I'll go on that rant in a second. But back to participation, get involved, go to some meetings, consider running for office yourself. If you're a well-spoken professional with some time and money, when I say professional, I don't mean like you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. If you're just a well-spoken person with an ability to speak and talk to people and reach out, consider running for yourself. Just get involved. Learn the policy, share it on Facebook. Watch these podcasts, get fired up, get mad, get angry. Just voting in itself isn't participating. And a lot of people do that. They say, well, I voted, I did something. If you're voting for the same establishment legacy parties, you're not. You're putting us in the same rut. And now I'm going to go on my rant about that. Let's talk about why we need more than 2 parties. Everyone says, oh, you only need 2 parties. Third parties can't win. They're splitting the vote. They're never going to win. Third parties are irrelevant. Let's talk about that. I'm hungry. It's dinner time. It's 8 o'clock. I'm hungry. I want to go eat. If I look at my map of restaurants in the area, there's more than 2 restaurants. It's not McDonald's and Burger King. There's dozens of restaurants, right? When I go to that restaurant that I choose, it's not, you get fried chicken, you get a fish sandwich. There's only 2 options, deal with it. There's multiple options. When I go to vote, which is pretty important, I'm only told I should have 2 options. Well, how come? What do those 2 options get us? Never-ending war, $23 trillion in debt. And so there's time for more. This is America, land of the free, land of choice. Hell, when you're going to buy toilet paper, to stock up on toilet paper, how many different brands in 2-ply, 3-ply, 1-ply, extra ply? There's more than 2. Well, there's more than 2 brands. There's multiple options. There's multiple choices. Why? Because this is America, land of the choice. When you vote, you need more than 2 options. And here's a consequence of voting for more than 2 parties. If you have more than 2 parties, here's what happens. 3rd, 4th, 5th parties, they start to steal the vote from the 2 parties. What are the 2 parties going to do? They're going to say, holy crap, we're losing elections because we're losing voters to this Libertarian Party. We better run better candidates so we stop hemorrhaging votes to these other parties. They're going to listen and run better candidates. It's consumer-driven politics. Think about it. Think about it in the real world. If you go to the same place for dinner every Friday night, right? All of a sudden they double their prices. The service sucks. They burn your food. They screw up your bill. The waiter calls you a jerk. You're going to stop going there, right? You're not going to say, well, I'm trapped in this abusive, manipulative relationship with this restaurant. If I try something else, it could get worse. I better keep going to this place where this guy treats me like dirt and lies to me. You're going to go to a different restaurant. And that restaurant's either going to go out of business or have to do better. When it comes to voting, it's the same thing. People are stuck in this manipulative, it's psychological abuse. The legacy parties have been abusing their voters for so long. Oh, if you vote third party and we lose, the other side could win. Okay, run better candidates, earn my vote. They are not entitled to your vote because there's an R or D after their name, or an L. I'm not entitled to anyone's vote because I'm Libertarian. I need to earn the vote.
Now, speaking about the party system, they tried removing you off the ballot, didn't they?
Who did? The Republicans or?
I don't know. And I just heard they did, and I heard you guys won. Yes. I wasn't sure who tried to pursue that.
Two things happened. Number one, what happened was to maintain ballot access in New York, you need 50,000 votes in a statewide election, which is usually the governor election every 4 years. You get 50,000 votes. You're a registered party. Well, New York State tried to pull it that they said, well, you need one every 2 years, presidential election and gubernatorial election, and you need 160,000 votes or 2%. And so the average person at home listening might say, well, Duane, what's the big deal? The big deal is tying our ballot access to a countrywide vote and race is disheartening because you're eliminating the minority voice in New York. For example, and this is a perfect example, Jimmy McMillan of the Rent is Too Damn High party. That is not a national party. It's a party that it addresses issues in New York State. So say, for example, I decided in 2022, I'm going to run for governor on split New York State party. I'm going to petition and make my own party. I'm going to call it the Divide New York State Party. And my one issue is going to be splitting New York State. Simple as that. That's not an issue in California. Well, it is an issue in California. That's not an issue in Texas. No one wants to split Texas. Mm-hmm. So when the presidential election comes around, what do? I might not be able to maintain the ballot access because the presidential candidates don't care about splitting the state. So you're actually suppressing the minority voice in the state. So New York State lost. They recently lost in court. They're still trying to push it through, but we did get a stay. And then for my race individually, the Republicans have been messing me pretty heavily. So what they did a couple of months ago was they got someone to register as Libertarian and challenge my nomination. And we ended up going to court and we won. I'm still on the ballot. And now it looks like they got another Republican infiltrator to attempt to primary me in June. So it's tough. That's the life of the third party, is that you're constantly, they say a third party can't win and a third party is irrelevant, a third party's useless, and you shouldn't vote for a third party. But in my race, the Republicans have done a pretty good job trying to mess with me, which makes me wonder if they truly believe a third party can't win and a third party's useless, or if that's just what they're saying, because behind the scenes, they're doing a lot to mess with me. Like now I said, you see a Republican plan trying to primary me in June, so it's turned out to be a pretty big nightmare.
So nothing is really being blamed on the Democratic side, is mostly the Republicans, because they feel that their vote, the person that would most likely vote for them would vote for you. Is that what they're afraid of?
In my race, it's the Republican won by 2,000 votes in 2018. So he's considered the favorite. So they don't know who's going to vote for me. But there's a lot of outrage in how the Republican candidate was picked. So they're worried that a lot of Republicans are going to protest how he was picked by voting for me. So it's their way to kind of cover their butt. But I mean, I have Republicans voting for me, Democrats voting for me, Independents voting for me, blanks voting for me, Libertarians, people registering to vote for me. We pull people in from all parties because if you're mad at how the system's going, you're going to join us. Everyone joins our party. But for some reason, the Republicans in New York State, the losing party always blames the third parties for losing. So, for example, when Molinaro lost the gubernatorial race, a lot of unintelligent, diehard Republicans said, it's Larry Sharp's fault that Molinaro lost. Basic math explains why you're an idiot. Basic math says if you add Molinaro's vote and Larry Sharp's vote, Cuomo still wins. So no, it's not Larry Sharp's fault. Cuomo won. But the Republicans, because they're the losing party, have to blame someone because God forbid, because there's only two parties, they're not going to look at themselves and say, oh, we're losing because we ran a bad candidate that didn't get enough votes. We got to blame this guy. Keep giving us money. That guy's bad. So it's usually the losing party that blames, or if the winning party wins by a margin, they want to make sure that they can maintain their winning. So
you want to educate people maybe a little bit on what they call party invasion, and like you said, a Republican switch to a Libertarian line to do that. And I run for office myself. I'm registered conservative, and they endorse Republicans to run in my line. So the system is more or less there's no accountability. Right. You go to court in front of a judge that's either a Republican or a Democrat that was endorsed by either party. What?
It's tough. I'm personally not a fan of cross-endorsing. I would like to see an end of fusion voting. I would love to see an end of fusion voting. You run a candidate on your line, there's no cross-endorsing. I'm the chairman of the Erie County Libertarian Party, and we cross-endorsed 2 candidates this year. The reason why we did it was because we didn't have a registered Libertarian running in that race, and we don't have many Libertarian candidates running. So it's nice to see the line being used, because if we don't use it, people are going to say, what the hell is this party doing? So we ran a couple Libertarian cross-endorsements. I think we cross-endorsed 2 candidates. I'm not a big fan of it. I'd like to see fusion voting go away, because it degrades it degrades your party and opens up ways for the 2 big parties to essentially buy your line.
Whatever happened to that fusion party law they were thinking about passing there? They had a couple meetings locally and everything, and the Republicans were against it, the Dems were for it. Whatever happened to that in New York State to end the fusion voting?
I don't remember what happened. I don't know. I stopped following. I know that they tried to pass it, but I would love an end of fusion voting would make New York's democracy purer, or not New York's voting purer, because it would end a lot of corruption. From if you see a lot of conservatives tend to be on the Republican line, vice versa. The Democrats and the working families are in bed together. It would end that, and it would force the parties to run their own candidates, which would make it more pure and more free consumer-driven, more free market politics, if you will.
I believe if that happened, I think the parties would just implode because they wouldn't get any more funding from the big money. They wouldn't be real parties, you know. Because what's their theory? They say locally, if you don't have more than 2 or 3 party lines, you're not going to win. I think that's something they say locally, you know.
Yeah, and that's true. And that's why you should see an end of fusion voting. I would love to see that.
Websites, you talked about InsideWith.com. That was the isidewith.com. I'll post the links below here on this video. And then you do have a website yourself?
DuaneWhitmer.com, Facebook page, Duane Whitmer for Congress.
And you have all your information down there too. So I'll put a link to your info on the video. And then thanks for being on with me. It's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Whenever you want to talk, let